Hi. I'm making this video. It's been a long time since I've posted anything about something that I've got some strong feelings about. And you may listen to me, you may not. Some of you will turn it off very quickly. Some of you will listen through the whole thing. But I'm very moved and very concerned about the shootings that are going on in these high schools. It's not that I haven't been concerned before, but I've been waiting. I've been waiting for a government, my government, to do something. And yes, do I feel like it's personal responsibility for every person? Absolutely. There is a personal responsibility that we all have. But we're allowing for what I consider to be a fallacious argument to allow these assault weapons to be sold to children. And when I mean children, I mean not when I was 18. When I was 18, we had a different mindset than today's 18. The millennials of today are not the same as when I was 18. I remember when I was 18 and my father and my mother got together and said, I'm going to pay your first month's rent, and she's going to pay your first month's food, and after that, boy, it's on you. And it was on me. And there's a personal responsibility that I was forced to have. And that's because my parents were raised during the Depression. And it was about caring for yourself and the like. Today, it's a different atmosphere. But we're treating things like it's a different atmosphere. Last week, 17 people lost their lives in a high school. The kids went to school like every other morning. They had their chemistry tests that they were worried about, or physics, or algebra, or 9th grade English. Some of them were 14 years old. 14 years old. When you're 14 years old, you're supposed to be worrying about who likes you, who doesn't, who thinks you're cute, who doesn't. Are you going to go to the football game? Are you going to get on the team? Those are the things you need to be worried about. Getting good grades. Not whether you're going to be shot dead. This guy, and I'm not going to say his name, he was troubled. Nobody helped him. Nobody paid attention to him. There is a mental health aspect to this. There is no doubt whatsoever there's a mental health aspect. But there's a mental health aspect to every shooting. To put bullets in a gun, take it and point it at someone and shoot. There's a mental breakdown somehow. Whether it's sinister, which is a mental breakdown, whether it's delusionary, it's a mental breakdown. So let's get that argument out of the way. There's a mental health aspect to it, no doubt. I'm going to show you something, see? This is my brother. I can't talk to him anymore. He's 4 years older than me. He'll always be 4 years older than me, no matter how old I get. He's gone. He died at 28. Now, it wasn't that he was shot in high school, but he died at 28. He had 2 young children and a wife that he left behind. When he died, I was 24. And like most siblings, whenever I was out in my life, I could always say, gee, where was Mike at during this age? Okay, I'm doing okay. He was my barometer. He's gone because of a person with a gun. A person with a mental infirmity with a gun. Should have never had it. That was 1989, November 7th. We always hear it, right? We hear FDR, December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. Well, November 7th, 1989 is the day that lives in infamy for me. So it's not just hypotheticals I'm dealing with, it's reality. The same reality that those parents that had to go and bury their kids over the last week, that are still burying their kids. As I make this video today, they're burying their kids right now. And our elected officials are doing nothing. This was 1989 when Michael died and was shot and killed. Since then, we banned armor-piercing bullets. We banned assault weapons in 1994. But for some reason or another, our elected officials let that lapse. Why? Political donations, political pressure. Who knows? But what I do know is that we've got to stop selling them now. I don't care about the past. I don't care about who was to blame for what. I'm less about blame. Stop blaming. Do something affirmative. Stop selling these things. This kid was able to go into a store and buy this weapon in a very brief period of time. We're not talking about a 10-day waiting period, a 3-day waiting period, any waiting period. He walked out with it the same day. A semi-automatic assault rifle. Do you hear the words? Assault rifle. Rifles that are designed to assault. And the trick of this isn't to rename it, a badass hunting rifle, and to bring up an example about how Joe Smith in rural Pennsylvania put it on single shot and was able to take down an 8-point buck and mount it on his wall. So now it's a hunting rifle. It's not a hunting rifle. It's an assault rifle. Our children are being assaulted. I've had so many people tell me, Fox, we're never going to get any sort of reasonable gun control, if you want to call it that, or reasonable gun legislation. If we're not going to get it after 20 kindergartners are gunned down, when are we going to get it? There's some validity to that argument. It's astonishing, isn't it? We can have 20 kindergartners gunned down by one of these assault rifles, and you do nothing. Yet, we have one guy, Robert Reed, get on a plane with a shoe bomb, and now every single person that walks to an airport has to take their shoes off and get them tested. Wow. Crazy. One person, and now everybody in the country that wants to get on an aircraft has to take their shoes off. Why aren't you doing anything? I listened. I've been watching. I've waited until the emotion of it has sort of, the rawness of it has gone off. It's still upsetting, but the instant visceral rawness has worn off in that sense. But I listened to the Speaker of the House, and I see him on the television, and he says, it's too early. We have to get the facts. Well, Speaker, here's the facts. A 19-year-old young man who has a history of mentally being unbalanced was able to walk into a store and buy a semi-automatic assault rifle with the minimalist of background checks. He was able to pick up as many magazines as he liked, as much ammunition as he liked, while the store owner celebrated with, what a sale. But hey, it's when our economy good. So he was able to walk out with that with nobody raising an eyebrow. No phone call to the local police. Hey, I just had somebody come in here and pick up a semi-automatic rifle with, X amount of magazines and X amount of ammunition. Somebody better be on the lookout. Nope. He was then able to load up that weapon, put it in a bag, get an Uber driver, drive it over to a school, walk into that school, and open fire, killing 14 children and 3 adults. 14 children that'll never graduate high school. 14 children that'll never go to college. 14 children that'll never get married, have kids, raise their own kids, and all of the things that you get to do while we pay your salary. 3 adults that'll never be able to see their kids again, see their loved ones again. Ever. It's done. Dead. No more breath, no more thought. Those are the facts. What more do you need? Have you got the facts now? Can you do something? Mr. President, yes, it's about mental illness. There's no doubt. There needs to be a process of being able to identify those that are mentally ill. Now, the legislation that was passed earlier this year and signed into law by you, middle of last year, and signed by you, decreasing the threshold, allowing more mentally ill people to gain access to weapons, that's certainly on your watch. You can make the argument that somebody's trying to take away your Second Amendment rights. And other than one person that I heard talk about taking away the Second Amendment should be repealed, I would fight them just as vigorously as I'm going to fight you on this. Right? We are a country of guns. We've had them since the outset. We will have them until the day this country ceases to exist. But we already put restrictions on weapons. If you don't see the reasoning why to put restrictions on these assault rifles simply because we have a Second Amendment right to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, you're living in the clouds. You're living in a false sense of whatever it is that you think our country stands for. Because if that's the case, if we have a right to bear arms to keep ourselves safe from a tyrannical government, to be able to overthrow a tyrannical government, then you have to realize our government has more weaponry than can any band of people armed with AR-15s or assault rifles or whatever the case might be to dissuade or to tamp down or bomb the hell out of any uprising of a citizenry trying to overthrow the government. We don't have 50 caliber weapons. We don't have tanks. We don't have drones. We don't have ballistic missiles. We don't have nuclear weapons. So you could take all of the assault rifles, I almost said rifles, all the assault rifles available to rise up against a tyrannical government, and we could just be bombed into oblivion. Oblivion. Like no more. Cease to exist. So how is it that these assault rifles are going to keep us safe? Our local police departments have tank-like battering rams. Even the AR-15s couldn't keep them in check. So if that's the case, then if we have the resources, we should be able to have our own carrier groups, our own F-14s, 16s, 18s, F-35s, Tomahawk missiles, ballistic missiles. Hell, we should be able to have a nuclear weapon. If it truly is about our right to bear arms, it doesn't say handguns, it doesn't say rifles, it doesn't say muskets, it doesn't say anything. It says arms. Last I heard, a ballistic missile was an armament. Last I heard, a 50 caliber was an armament. Last I heard, they are called nuclear missiles or nuclear arms. So why do we have restrictions on those? Because it keeps us safe. Our country is not safe with these automatic rifles being sold. And you're doing nothing about it. Zero. You even have to think about whether or not there should be enhanced background checks. What? After what we just saw? If this was any one of your kids, would you feel the same way? What are you supposed to tell those parents? Oops, sorry, look, I can't support you because my next donation won't come through, and then I might not get reelected. Or, God, the NRA and the Koch brothers may try to primary me. And then what good would I do? At least you could sleep at night. If you don't do anything, I hope the ghosts of these children haunt you every night of your life. Just take a look at the pictures of those kids. Just think about the Sandy Hook kids. And you're basically telling them there's nothing you can do? Yes, you're right. If somebody wanted to get a hold of a weapon to do that kind of carnage, they're going to get a hold of it. Do you really think this kid would have gone that far? I mean, that's like saying, hey, if somebody wants to do drugs, they're going to do drugs. So we might as well just legalize them, you know? Make heroin available. All they have to do is make sure you buy it from a store so we can pay taxes on it. So, you know, we're good. Is that what we are? As long as it helps the economy, it's okay. We put restrictions on cigarettes. We put restrictions on alcohol. We put restrictions on when people can drive. Those are all restrictions on our freedoms. But we do so because they're substantially related to the object of the law. The law and the regulation, they're substantial. We put checks on our amendments all the time. There's nothing, although it was now put into it, there was nothing at the beginning of the Constitution that said what the age was to vote. Yet we put restrictions on it. It's ridiculous that you use the Second Amendment to hide behind your inaction. And I'm telling you now, you've got to do something. You have to do something. Our children are dying. They're afraid to go to school. I have a child that's a high school senior right now. They've had instructions by their school on what to do in case of a school shooting. I just had a breakfast this morning with an 11th grader who's off school for President's Day. And she told me, she said, hey, she has a chemistry teacher who is like a very large physical man. And he has told them, if something happens, you turn your desks over, put your backs up against your desk, and keep yourself faced away from the door. And I thought that was a little odd. I said to her, I was about to ask her, why keep your face away from the door? But she told me, she said, because he wanted us to look away in the event that the gunman got in, and he didn't want to see us to be able to see what would happen to him. He promised us that he would do everything in his power, up to and including giving his life to protect us. The only way she can interpret that is that he did not want to see us, or he did not want us to see him gunned down. It's not something we should see. Those were our high schools. Speaker Ryan, Leader McConnell, President Trump. The country elected you. I personally did not vote for you, President Trump. I didn't. I don't believe in a lot of your policies. I don't think you're qualified for the office, but you're there. It's a fact. I have to deal with it. You're the one that's in power now. You're the one that's supposed to be the leader of the free world, and I'm asking you to act like it. Speaker Ryan, I want you to envision that those were your kids that were shot down in that high school. Leader McConnell, maybe it's your grandkids. Senator Hatch, it definitely is your grandkids, maybe even your great-grandkids. Some of you that are in there, that have been in Congress all this time, you have to remember how things were. Do something. This is not the age I mean, when I was in high school, I went to a high school in rural Pennsylvania. Kids came to school in their trucks. They had shotguns and rifles in their gun rack in their trucks. Never once, even when it was like, hey, I'm going to beat your butt when I get out of school kind of thing, even never once when I got into an argument with somebody and I thought that maybe there was going to be a fight, not one single time did I even possibly envision that somebody is going to go to their car and get their gun and shoot me. But it's happening. Columbine, Sandy Hook, Pulse nightclub, and now Parkland. Those are just ones in my most recent memory. Please don't let the person who told me that we have no possibility of sensible gun laws be right. 20 kindergartners that went to school to just learn their ABCs are dead, and you do nothing. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Is your heart so made of stone that you can't man up and do what's right rather than what's politically expedient? And that means all of you. Please don't take this as I just mean the Republicans that are in charge, although right now you kind of have the floor. How you do things matters. You're the one that's in control. But all of you, this is not a political football. These are kids. This is not the world we want our kids to grow up in. And it's certainly not the country that should stand for what's right. It's a simple request. Stop talking and start doing. Change this and let our kids feel safe.